Story 1 AITA for leaving a family gathering after mother and father-in-law allowed their neighbor to make a racist comment.
I am 31, am mixed race, black dad/white mom, and I'm currently visiting my mom, 60s, and her partner of 10 years, 60s white, who we will call John.
My mum and John live in a small village in Wales, all white, but something I'm fairly used to growing up in predominantly white areas of the UK. Today I was weeding the front garden to help out while visiting, when John bumped into one of the neighbors, Carl 60s, and called me over to introduce myself/say hi. In the very first conversation, I mentioned I'm here for a week from London.
Carl immediately led into a story of how when he was last in London he accidentally bumped into a man who proceeded to be extremely hostile and ignored all pleas that it was an accident, becoming more and more belligerent, before adding and he was colored in a tone that low-key screamed he was a dangerous N.R., which both Carl and John chuckled at.
Caught off guard by the comment, I immediately said I'm going to finish up on the garden, doing another 30 seconds of work, before putting the tools away and heading to my room. Shortly after, John came to my room saying sorry about Carl, he just says it how it is, which led to me exploding saying you don't care about what he said because it doesn't matter to you but it matters to me, and you should care about that before leaving to go on a long hike. Returning a couple of hours later, my mum came to my room in an attempt to resolve the situation. It didn't go well. Mother began by telling me I'm blowing it out of proportion, that Carl is a weirdo and I should ignore his comments. I made it clear I don't care about Carl, I care that John allowed their neighbor to make a racist remark in front of me with zero pushback. Mum told me I should have spoken up, I should have stood up for myself. I replied, this is your friend, it's not my responsibility to correct them, and as a person of color it is not my responsibility to educate every racist white person. My mum told me I'm overreacting, to which I told her she's white, she has no idea the experience of being a person of color, and has no business telling me what is or isn't racist, or how I should feel. I've been forced to turn a blind eye to racism in my social life, in the workplace, in education and while working abroad. I am not going to accept racism in a place I call home, and that I'm packing my bag and going home tomorrow morning. My mum is furious I'll be missing seeing the rest of the family, and believes I'm immature for not continuing to discuss the matter as a family and at least find a place to agree to disagree. I don't know what more there is to discuss, I don't know what compromise or level of racism I'm expected to tolerate, or how I'm supposed to be comfortable in the knowledge that my direct family are comfortable ignoring racism and minimalize my feeling towards it. So, am I the asshole? Best comments. 1. NTA. There is no place to agree or disagree. John chose his path of allowing racism and your mother is choosing John. I am so sorry that this happened to you. You are right, you thought you were at home. Now it appears you were just visiting your parents' house. Your mother should be ashamed not only of condoning the racism but also for not providing a child, even an adult child, a safe place to land. 2. NTA. John should have stood up for you. At the very least he should have walked away without laughing. I might have let it go if John hadn't have tacked on, he tells it like it is. But after that everything absolutely went downhill. 3. NTA. As a person of color who almost exclusively moves in white spaces, this is a hill to die on. My husband, white, is currently NC with his mom and stepdad because of his stepdad's raging racism and his mom's refusal to say anything to him about it to keep the peace. You don't have to be combative about it or feel the need to educate the ignorant, but still, the proper amount of racism to tolerate is always 0%. Story 2. AITA for ruining my stepsister's birthday? My stepsister turned 15 last Saturday. She wanted a family dinner to celebrate. My dad and her mom agreed and invited my dad's side of the family since none of her bio family are in her life. I, 16F, was supposed to be there, but the night before I slept at my grandparents' and then my extended family decided to spend the day with me instead. They told my dad the morning of. They had a fight. Dad called me and told me I needed to get them all there, including me, that my stepsister would be crushed if none of us showed up for her. I told him I didn't care. He tried to make us go and make me leave my grandparents' house, but we'd left already and he called us a bunch that morning in panic mode. For the background. My stepsister's bio father isn't in her life, neither are his family. Neither are her mom's family. It was just them until her mom met my dad 6 years ago. My mom died 2 years after she walked out on me and dad. I was close to her family and to my dad's family and most of all my dad. I had/have some issues with the whole mom leaves and then dies, so no chance to find out why stuff. But I never really missed her. I just needed my dad and he did give me his time. Until he met his wife. His time went all to her and her daughter, and when we all moved in together it went on her daughter. Sometimes I was included, but it was mostly one-to-one them. When I asked dad for time he'd tell me he needed to make up for her not having a dad, and how I could let his wife make up mom to me. I told him I needed him. I didn't need the woman who abandoned me or the woman he was now dating. I needed him. He told me not to be so greedy with him and I'd had him alone for years. I told him it didn't mean I stopped needing him and he said I had to grow up. I asked for years but always got brushed off. My dad's family would step in and my dad was like, you need to treat both girls the same, and he told them they couldn't be family for me and not her. He'd get mad if they got me more. But always got his stepdaughter more. One Christmas she got a Switch, 10 games and a TV for her room. I got 2 games I didn't like, even though I was told to make a list, and clothes. For my 16th birthday Dad refused to join me and his family to celebrate at their house. He said my stepsister had a play she was in. Because I chose my birthday over her play, he didn't get me a gift either. My grandparents found this out Friday night when I was at their house. This is what led to them deciding they were going to prioritize me. After all the crazy of Dad finding out calmed down and my stepsister was a mess because we didn't show to her birthday dinner, Dad told me to stay with my grandparents. I'm still here. But he showed up yesterday after school and he told me my behavior was disgusting and as her big sister I should have been there for her and saved her from feeling hurt. He said I was selfish to my core. AITA? Best comments. 1. NTA Your dad needs to learn how to parent, you are not equal. She is not his daughter, you are. All children need to feel love and feel special to their parents. I think your dad thinks his heart is in the right place, but he screwed up. You are not alone. This happens quite often when a man gets a new wife, previous children tend to get left behind. It sounds like you can use some grief counseling by yourself and also sessions with your dad to work through this. At 16, you can't just figure this out on your own, you are still growing into yourself. I am sorry that you are feeling abandoned, the one person who should be there for you. 2. NTA, you are still a child and he is an adult. He is shirking his parenting responsibilities when it comes to his biological daughter to cater to stepdaughter prob because that puts him in good graces with the new wife. He has no idea the repercussions of his emotional neglect. You are not you are a kid and your feelings are hurt, and that is valid. However, intentionally hurting your stepsister's feelings because your hurting isn't going to make you feel any better in the long run. 3. So he's making up for her not having her dad in her life, by making sure you don't have your dad in your life? I know you have extended family while she doesn't, but it sounds like she's getting 2 parents and you're getting none. I'm guessing you don't have a close relationship with your stepmom. If you like the video so far, hit the like and share buttons. Thank you. Story 3 AITA for telling my sister-in-law that her side hustle makes her a bad person. My brother, 33M, and his wife, 30F, have 2 young boys, 3 and 1. My wife and I have a 5-year-old son, so over the years we have given them quite a few items that we no longer use/needed. Crib, clothes, toys, various baby items, etc. Most of the things were just taking up space in our house and we knew they would put them to use, so we had no problem giving them away. We visited them a couple weeks ago for their 3-year-old's birthday party. During the party, Sil mentioned that she has been selling off a bunch of baby stuff as a side hustle. Both she and my brother are the youngest of their families and she said that they get so many hand-me-downs from their siblings that they couldn't keep track of them all. Her solution was to start selling these gifts off online to make a few extra bucks. She was basically bragging about it. I told her that is a pretty crappy thing to do considering that these items were given to them as gifts that they willingly accepted and were expected to use. I asked her if they had sold some of the things we have given them and she laughed and said that she was sure she did because we've given them a lot of stuff. I told her that if I had known she was going to sell those items off, I would have given them away to someone else or donated them to a local nonprofit that helps young mothers in need. She got defensive and told me that it's not like she's making a lot of money off these things, just a few bucks here and there. I told her that the people buying those items are probably the same people who would benefit from getting them for free and that she's taking advantage of them. She went off about how hard things are with the economy right now and how they need all the help they can get financially. Mind you, both she and my brother have college degrees and work full-time. I know raising kids is expensive, but they aren't in dire straits. I told her that she probably shouldn't expect us to give them anything else in the future, and I would probably suggest to my other siblings that they refrain from doing so as well and look into other options for donating things. She got defensive again and told me that she doesn't feel like she's doing anything wrong. I told her she's entitled to feel that way, but my opinion of her as a person is now lesser because of this. She said that selling things they don't use to make a few bucks doesn't make her a bad person, and I told her that considering they were given these things for free, it kind of does. By this point other people had noticed our conversation and my brother stepped in to end the conversation before things got too heated. He told me I should mind my own business and that if I don't want to give them anything else in the future, that's my choice. But that I took this too far by calling his wife a bad person for selling things they don't use. Best comments. 1. Op clearly doesn't mean it as a gift. A gift is something given no strings attached to be used/disposed of as the recipient wishes. What Op is describing sounds more like an implied lease where Sil offers free storage of Op's old items with the understanding that Sil may use them for her own kids, but must seek Op's approval for disposal of the items. If Op was upfront about this, that's fine, but it sounds like he wasn't, so big Uda opus 2. Uda. It doesn't matter if it's a gift or a hand-me-down. In the first paragraph he said he was giving them stuff he thought they might be able to use and he didn't need or want, and that was just taking up space. In other words, they didn't ask for them at all. It was assumed they'd want it. Either way, if you give something to someone, it's not yours anymore. This nonsense about I gave that to you, you must enshrine it in glad and pay homage to it is just insane. If you give me something, cool. If I want it or can use it, I'll keep it. If I don't, I won't. I am not going to fill my house full of junk I don't want just because you think I might like it. That's nonsense. If you gave it to a donation center, are you going to demand that they tell you who took it so you can make sure those people don't sell it when they're done? No. You won't. Knock it off. They accepted your gifts and thanked you for them. They put them to use, either with the kids or they sold it for the money to put toward the kids. Either way, it got put to use. If you don't like the way it's being used, keep your stuff yourself and use it however you want to use it. But it is not your place to tell someone else how to use their own personal belongings, which is exactly what these things became the moment you handed off possession and labeled it a gift. If it's a loan, say that. You'll be shocked at how fast you hear no thanks. Story 4. AITA, F20, for letting my mother, F48, know that she was disrespectful for playing loud music and having guests in my house at 5 in the morning. Had a hell week at work, got home this Friday at 3 a.m. I worked night shift and it's a 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. shift. Had a day full of bad news that stressed me out and arguments with my boyfriend. Started pouring when I came home too and made me soaking wet. The package of a crappy day was all inclusive. Around an hour before my shift ended my mom texted me that she had guests. She is staying at my place currently but we don't live on the same floor, and that I will be sleeping with some girl who is close to my age. I wanted to rip my hairs out, but I told her it's alright because it would be rude of me to refuse. Got home, and found her and the guests outside waiting for me. I locked my door when I left. Mom said they will come with me in my house, but I tried to play it cool and told them I want to sleep. They still came with me, and I had to stay up talking to them an hour, so it became already 4 a.m. I just get up and go to my bedroom to try and sleep. Very important detail. The house was not built with 2 floors initially. So this floor I live in is made of very thin drywall, and it all feels like one big room. Somewhere between 4:30 a.m. and 5 a.m. I fall asleep. Suddenly I'm awakened by loud music and singing, loud talking. I wake up startled and confused as I didn't expect to hear music from them at such a time, knowing I'm sleeping in the other room. I check the time, it's 5:30 a.m. I could not fall back asleep at all. I let my mom know it was extremely rude not only to bring guests at such a time after work, but most importantly that they didn't respect my resting time. She got mad at me and very offended. She said I'm a grumpy savage who hates people and doesn't like fun. Also that I'm rude for saying I was bothered by what they did. And something along the lines of alright darling, I will never come in your home again so I won't bother you anymore. Of course, in a sarcastic, spiteful tone. TLDR, my mom invited guests in my house after my night shift ended and played music loudly in the living room as if I wasn't sleeping. Let her know it bothered me and she got upset and offended. Am I the asshole for being bothered/letting her know that I was bothered by what she did? Notes, the girl who I was supposed to sleep with didn't want to sleep as she was leaving 6 a.m. Stupidly enough I heard my mom insisting at least 20 times that she comes and sleeps with me even though she refused every time. They all didn't sleep but eventually left too after 6. One of the guests left their phone in the living room and I had to listen to a phone alarm for 30 minutes straight until they came to pick up their phone. Best comments, 1. Nope NTA. Mom needs to find a new place to live stat. Like I'd be looking at apartments with her tonight if possible. First of all, who is she to tell you there will be strangers sharing your bed? And then they convince you to stay up for an extra hour when all you wanted to do is sleep and then was disrespectful and loud and kept you awake? Like what the heck would she have done to you when you were younger and you tried pulling this? 2. NTA. She's staying with you. It's not her house. She's abusing your generosity. You saying no is not rude. Here are the rude things in your story. Inviting guests to someone else's home without permission. Inviting those guests in the middle of the night. Informing your host that they will be sharing their bed with some person they don't even know. Keeping someone up talking when they want to go to bed. Being loud enough to disturb others in the middle of the night. Being loud when someone in the household is trying to sleep. Disregarding the stated rules of your host's home. Disregarding someone's boundaries. Calling someone names when they call out poor behavior. Calling your child names, adult or not. Guilting/emotional manipulation, with or without a sarcastic tone. Please note that this is all your mom. Nothing you did makes the list. You are used to her behavior and guilt tactics. She's trained you to accept them and be submissive to her. I've been there, and it's hard to unlearn it. It's all you knew for most of your life, but it's time to see it for what it is and let her know she can't do it anymore. You need to tell your mother what is acceptable behavior toward you and in your home. Inform her that if she can't respect those things, you will not allow her in your home. If she pulls the fine, "I won't come here anymore" line again, tell her that that's her choice. Do not feel guilty for setting boundaries, and don't feel guilty for enforcing them. You are allowed to say number 3. NTA. Your mom having a bunch of folks over that late partying at your house when you're trying to sleep is pretty bad, especially when dealing with that and a bad mood at the same time. Did she have permission beforehand, or was this just a total deal with it situation, much like with this girl she tried to force into your bed for a sleepover? Do you even know this girl? I'd be absolutely putting M.